Your baby falls asleep. You put them down carefully. You tiptoe out of the room, and 40 minutes later, they are awake again. Crying. Every single night, the same cycle. Over and over. You are not doing anything wrong, and your baby is not broken. There is a biological reason this keeps happening. And once you understand it, you can fix it tonight with something that costs $2. No crying method, no sleep training, no expensive gadget. Just a simple fix that parents have used for thousands of years, that a 2022 scientific review confirmed in peer-reviewed research, and that the baby product industry has quietly replaced with products that cost 50 times more and do not work any better. This is the story of the cheapest night fix ever discovered, and why millions of exhausted parents have never heard of it. To understand why your baby keeps waking up, you need to understand one thing about how babies sleep. It is different from how you sleep. Very different. When you fall asleep, you move through sleep cycles that each last about 90 minutes. You go from light sleep down into deep sleep, then back up toward light sleep, and then the cycle starts again. During those transitions, you might stir slightly, but your body has learned to stay asleep and move into the next cycle without fully waking up. Your baby has not learned that yet. And there is a second problem. A baby's sleep cycle is not 90 minutes long. It is 30 to 50 minutes long. That means your baby completes a full sleep cycle and comes back up to light sleep twice as often as you do. Every time that happens, there is a window where the baby can wake up fully. And for newborns and young infants, something almost always triggers that waking. It is called the Moro reflex. You have probably seen it. The baby's arms suddenly fling outward, the body stiffens, and the baby gasps. It looks like a startle. That is exactly what it is. The Moro reflex is an involuntary response that fires when a baby feels unsupported, senses a sudden movement, or hears a sharp sound during a light sleep stage. The arms go out, the baby wakes up, and you are back at square one at 2 in the morning. This reflex exists for a biological reason. In early human history, it helped infants grip onto their caregivers when they sensed they were falling. It is a survival reflex. But in a modern crib, in a quiet room, it fires constantly and unnecessarily. And it is the single biggest reason babies wake up so often during the night. Here is what almost no one tells you. There is a simple, cheap, and proven way to stop the Moro reflex from waking your baby up. It has been used by parents in almost every culture on Earth for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians used it. Greek and Roman parents used it. Families across Asia, the Middle East, and South America used it. Indigenous cultures on every continent independently arrived at the same technique, and it costs about $2 at any store. It is called swaddling. Wrapping your baby snugly in a thin blanket so that the arms are held gently against the body. That is the entire technique. When the baby's arms are held in place, the Moro reflex cannot complete its full movement. The arms cannot fling outward. The reflex fires but does not wake the baby up. The baby stays in the light sleep transition and moves into the next sleep cycle without fully waking. This is not a folk remedy or an old wives' tale. In 2022, researchers reviewed all the available scientific evidence on swaddling and infant sleep. The conclusion was clear. Swaddling increases the duration of quiet sleep in infants. It significantly reduces the number of sleep state changes, meaning the baby moves between light and deep sleep less often and with less disruption. Fewer sleep state changes means fewer opportunities for the Moro reflex to fire. Fewer opportunities for the Moro reflex to fire means fewer times the baby wakes up fully. And fewer times the baby wakes up fully means longer stretches of sleep for both the baby and for you. Now here is where the baby product industry enters the story. And here is where it gets frustrating. A thin muslin blanket costs about $2. You can find them at any baby store, any supermarket, or any online retailer. You can also use a regular thin cotton blanket you already have at home. The technique of wrapping a baby takes about 30 seconds to learn and about 10 seconds to do. There is nothing to charge, nothing to subscribe to, and nothing to replace. The baby product industry cannot make money from a $2 blanket and a 30-second technique. So instead, they sell you electric swaddle machines, automated rocking bassinets with built-in swaddle attachments, and smart sleep suits with sensors that monitor your baby's movement and send alerts to your phone. These products range from $80 to over $1,000. Some of them work reasonably well, but none of them work better than a $2 muslin blanket used correctly. The physics of the Moro Reflex do not care about the price of the product holding the arms in place. They care only about whether the arms are held in place. The global baby product market is worth over $320 billion per year. A significant portion of that market is built on the idea that better sleep for your baby requires a more sophisticated product. That idea is not supported by the research. The research supports a thin blanket and a technique that grandmothers in every culture on Earth figured out thousands of years before the first baby monitor was ever invented. But there is something else worth understanding here, something the product industry never mentions. Swaddling does more than just stop the Moro Reflex. It recreates a physical sensation that your baby spent 9 months experiencing inside the womb. Inside the uterus, your baby was held snugly on all sides by the walls of the womb and by the amniotic fluid surrounding it. There was constant, gentle pressure on every part of the baby's body. That pressure was normal. That pressure was safe. That pressure was home. When a baby is born and placed in an open crib with no physical contact on any side, that familiar pressure disappears completely. The baby's nervous system registers that absence. It is one of the reasons newborns are often calmer when held than when placed down. Swaddling recreates that gentle, even pressure around the baby's body. It does not replace being held by a parent, but it gives the baby's nervous system something familiar to rest in during sleep. Something that says this is safe, this is known, you can let go and sleep deeply now. There is also a broader pattern worth understanding here. The Moro Reflex is not the only thing that wakes babies up during the night. Babies also wake up because of hunger, because of discomfort, because of temperature changes, and because of the natural arousal that happens at the end of every sleep cycle. Swaddling addresses the Moro Reflex specifically. But when you combine swaddling with a dark room, a cool temperature, and a consistent white noise source like a fan, you are addressing multiple causes of night waking at the same time. The dark room keeps the melatonin signal strong. The cool temperature keeps the body in the right state for deep sleep. The white noise masks sudden sounds that would otherwise trigger arousal, and the swaddle stops the Moro Reflex from completing. Each of these things costs almost nothing. Together, they create a sleep environment that works with your baby's biology instead of against it. That is why parents who use all of these together consistently report longer stretches of uninterrupted sleep than parents who use only one. Research has also confirmed something that adds a second layer to this routine. Babies who were bathed with lavender-scented bath oil before bed spent significantly more time in deep sleep afterward. Their cortisol levels, which is the body's main stress hormone, dropped significantly. Their mothers were more relaxed, too. The combination of physical comfort and a calming scent lowered the baby's stress response and prepared the nervous system for deep sleep. A small bottle of lavender bath oil costs about $2 at any pharmacy. Used as part of a consistent bedtime routine before swaddling, it adds a second layer of calm to the same $2 investment. If you have made it this far, you already know more about why your baby keeps waking up than most parents ever find out. Subscribe and share this with another exhausted parent who needs to hear it. Everything in this video is backed by real research. The next video is coming soon. There is one more piece of this puzzle that almost nobody talks about, and it explains why some parents swaddle their baby, see great results for a week, and then suddenly the baby starts waking up again. They think the swaddling stopped working. It did not. What happened is that the baby grew. Babies grow fast in the first few months. A swaddle blanket that fits perfectly at 2 weeks may be too small at 6 weeks. When the blanket is too small, the wrap becomes loose during the night. A loose swaddle is almost worse than no swaddle at all, because the blanket can shift and create a loose fabric hazard near the baby's face. So the rule is simple. Check the fit of the swaddle every 2 weeks. If the baby looks cramped, if the blanket barely reaches around the body, Or if you notice the wrap coming loose during the night, it is time for a larger blanket. Muslin blankets come in multiple sizes, and a larger one still costs about $2. This one small adjustment is the difference between a technique that works consistently and one that seems to stop working for no reason. Now let us talk about something that makes swaddling even more effective. And this is the part that most sleep advice skips entirely. Swaddling works best when it is part of a consistent sleep environment that your baby's brain learns to recognize as the signal for sleep. Your baby's brain is not passive. It is constantly learning. Every night, it is building associations between what the environment looks and feels like and what is about to happen. When the same things happen in the same order every night, those associations get stronger. The swaddle becomes a signal. The dark room becomes a signal. The fan sound becomes a signal. The moment you begin wrapping the blanket, your baby's brain starts receiving the message that sleep is coming. Over time, that message gets stronger, and the transition into sleep gets faster and smoother. Research following hundreds of mothers and their babies over 3 weeks confirmed this clearly. The families who introduced a consistent bedtime routine saw significant reductions in how long it took their babies to fall asleep and significant reductions in the number of times their babies woke up during the night. The families who did not change their routine saw no improvement at all. The routine was simple: bath, then a brief massage, then quiet time, then sleep. The same order, every night. The swaddle is the final step before placing the baby down. That consistency is what makes the difference between a technique that works occasionally and a technique that works reliably every night. There is one more thing worth addressing that most sleep guides skip entirely, and it explains why some parents swaddle correctly, follow all the steps, and still find that the baby wakes up just as often. The issue is almost always one of 3 things. The first is that the swaddle is too loose. A loose swaddle does not suppress the Moro reflex. The arms need to be held firmly against the body, not just loosely wrapped. If there is enough slack in the blanket for the baby to pull an arm free during sleep, the reflex can still complete its movement. Snug means the blanket is firm against the body, not tight enough to restrict breathing or hip movement, but firm enough that the arms cannot move outward. The second issue is that the swaddle is being used inconsistently. Some parents swaddle at night, but not during naps. Or they swaddle on difficult nights, but skip it on nights when the baby seems calm. This inconsistency prevents the brain from building a strong sleep association with the swaddle. The brain needs repetition to learn. Every time the swaddle goes on, the brain receives the message that sleep is coming. Skip it half the time and the message never becomes reliable. The third issue is that the swaddle is being used past the point when it is safe. Once a baby shows any sign of trying to roll, the swaddle must stop immediately. A baby who rolls while swaddled cannot push themselves up if they end up face down. This is a serious safety risk. The transition to a sleep sack at that point is not a step backward. It is the right next step, and most babies adjust to it within a few nights. Here is exactly what to do starting tonight. Get a thin muslin blanket or any lightweight cotton blanket you have at home. Lay it flat in a diamond shape. Fold the top corner down about 6 inches. Place your baby face up with their neck at the folded edge. Take the left side of the blanket and wrap it snugly across the baby's body, tucking it underneath. Take the bottom corner and fold it up over the baby's feet, leaving room for the hips and legs to move freely. Take the right side and wrap it across the body, tucking it in securely. The arms should be held gently against the sides of the body. The wrap should be snug but not tight. You should be able to fit 2 fingers between the blanket and the baby's chest. The hips and legs must have room to move. A wrap that is too tight around the hips can cause hip problems, so always make sure the lower half has space. Use the swaddle every time your baby sleeps, both at night and during naps, for the first few months. Consistency matters here. A swaddle used only sometimes builds weaker sleep associations than one used every single time. The brain learns fastest when the signal is always the same. So even for short naps, use the swaddle. Even when you are not at home, bring the blanket. The more consistently the brain connects the swaddle with sleep, the faster and more reliably the baby will fall asleep when it goes on. Stop swaddling as soon as your baby shows any sign of trying to roll over. This is the safety rule recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. A baby who can roll while swaddled cannot push themselves up if they end up face down, which creates a safety risk. Most babies show rolling signs between 2 and 4 months. When that happens, transition to a sleep sack, which keeps the baby warm and cozy without restricting the arms. One question parents often ask is what to do about night feedings. A swaddle does not stop a baby from waking up to eat. Hunger is a real biological need, and no sleep technique should ever be used to delay feeding a hungry baby. But swaddling does change what happens after a night feeding. Without a swaddle, a baby who has just been fed and put back down is in an open, uncontained environment. The Moro reflex can fire at any moment. The baby may take 30 minutes or more to settle back into sleep, and by that point, you are exhausted and the next feeding is only an hour away. With a swaddle, the baby goes back down in the same familiar, contained environment it fell asleep in. The nervous system recognizes it. The Moro reflex is suppressed. The baby settles back into sleep much faster. That difference, between a 30-minute resettling and a 5-minute resettling, adds up to a significant amount of extra sleep over the course of a night. And over the course of weeks and months, that extra sleep makes a real difference to how you function as a parent. The results most parents see are immediate. The baby wakes up less often during the night because the Moro reflex no longer completes its full movement. The baby settles back to sleep faster after night feedings because the familiar pressure of the swaddle is already there, and the parents sleep longer because the baby is not crying out every 40 minutes. A $2 blanket, a technique that takes 30 seconds, and a result that thousands of years of human parenting, backed by peer-reviewed science, confirms works. Your great-grandmother knew this. Every grandmother in every culture on Earth knew this. The baby product industry spent decades replacing it with products that cost 100 times more. But the blanket is still there. It still costs $2. And tonight, it might be the thing that finally breaks the cycle. If this video helped you, subscribe and share it with another tired parent. Every parent who finds this information is one step closer to a full night of sleep. The next video is coming soon, and what is inside is just as important as this.